Good morning, beautiful people. I'm just coming back with another message on Esther, the woman with a beautiful glow. So I'm just sharing this word from my heart. I do realize that when I mentioned Esther's story, I didn't give enough context before. So I wanted to provide you with more context around the story so you would understand. I'm not going to tell the complete story, but I just want you to know about the characters. So in the book of Esther, we have King Xerxes. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I'm just going to refer to him as the king. Then we have his friend Haman. Then we also have Esther's cousin, which is Mordecai. Then we have Vashti, who was the original queen. And of course, we have Esther. So I just wanted to provide you with some context around the characters so you would really get into the story, so to speak. So with this story, we have a king who was interested in partying. He wanted to have a good time. You know, sometimes when you look at these celebrities, you see that they have their women on display. They have the baby mama, the side chick, and the wife at the party. And a lot of times these women are dressed to the nines. And you're like, how did this dude get all of these women to show up to this party and celebrate him and look good? Well, essentially, from my point of view, and this is just how I am relating it, that the king wanted Vashti to do something similar, the same thing. But Vashti was not featuring it. So essentially Vashti, he let go of her. He wanted to replace her maybe with someone who would be more compliant with his rules or someone who would be more obedient. So I'm just providing context because I want you to see how Esther's beauty, her spiritual glow, which is her inner glow, and her outer glow work together to be a blessing to not only Mordecai, but the Jewish people. So Esther, like I mentioned on yesterday, before I talked about Esther, I want to talk about the king's homeboy, the king's friend, Haman. So Haman was like the second in line to the king. And sometimes with the second in line, they can be very boastful. They can almost feel like they're the king themselves. And so when Haman would go about the town, he would expect people to bow down to him. Like, look, I'm a representative of the king. I'm the second in line. You better know who it is when you see me coming to town, or when you see me walking around or riding around or whatever. So he actually interacted with Mordecai, and which he ultimately put a decree in place that was going to kill Mordecai and also kill the Jewish people. So here comes Queen Esther. I'm speaking a little bit all over the place, but what I would love for you to do is go back and read this beautiful story, which actually does not mention the Lord's name directly, but we can see his work throughout the story. We can see God's heart, we can see God's mission, and we can see God's purpose for all of the characters in the story. So let's go back to Esther. So we have the king whose homeboy was basically going to make that decree, who made that decree against the people. But Esther, who was a woman, as I spoke about yesterday, who had to be positioned. She was preparing herself so that she can be positioned, so that she can be used to the glory of the Lord. So, of course, she went through her preparation period, and she was also up for review for the king to possibly be the queen. What would Esther have besides all of these other beautiful women? Now, from my perspective, what I personally believe, she not only was physically beautiful, but she had a spiritual glow. She had a glow about herself, meaning that her inner beauty shined. When a man walks into a room And whether he is in like a nightclub or whether he is just at an event, say a jazz event, when he notices all of these different beautiful women around, all of them are dressed meticulously, all of their hair is beautiful, their nails, their makeup. What is going to draw him to one woman versus the next when everybody's essentially on a level playing ground, on a level field here? To me, from my personal perspective, I would believe that he would go for the one he sees as that has the glow. There are going to be beautiful women all around. Of course, men know that. But certain women just have a spiritual glow. Certain women just have a beauty about them that precedes what's their outward beauty, that precedes their outward beauty. And from my perspective, this is how Esther became the queen. Because she just wasn't beautiful on the outside. She had a beautiful heart. She had a beautiful spirit. And I personally believe that this was the reason why she was chosen. The reason why I was touching on Esther is because this summer when I read the book of Esther, I asked God, I was like, Lord, is there something wrong with being beautiful? I used to hear people talk about beauty in the context of being superficial, the outward beauty, you don't focus on that. You just focus on the inner man, the inner heart. And I was saying, God, is there anything wrong with being beautiful? Is there anything wrong with me, wanting to look good outwardly? Now, I'm not going to let that take over my spiritual life, or I'm not going to let that lead me. That's vanity. But is there anything wrong with it? And with me constantly asking God that question, it led me to read the book of Esther. So let's move on here. So Esther became the queen. And because she became the queen, why did she become the queen? As we spoke yesterday, Esther was positioned. Esther was prepared. She went through her beautification stage. It wasn't just like she, walked up to the king one day and was like, yo, what's good? Can I be queen? I got some stuff to do for my people, homie. She didn't do that. She made sure that she was prepared. And she was placed in this place specifically so that she would be a blessing to her cousin Mordecai, who raised her, because Esther was an orphan. And she would be a blessing to him, and she would ultimately be a blessing to the Jewish people. So Haman, he made a decree, of course, because Mordecai did not want to bow down to him. And so with this decree in place, there had to be something done. You notice how Esther, she was prepared. And along with her being prepared, she was in the position after preparation, giving birth to her destiny, giving birth to her purpose, giving birth to the will of God for her life. She was at the place where she could say, hey, king, hey, we cool. She didn't say it like that, okay? But she could talk to the king. Of course, she had to go through guidelines. Of course, she had to, have a dinner. But she did certain things so that she could be in a position to talk to the king on behalf of her people. And thus for allowing the decree to be dismissed. Allowing, Haman to be taken out, essentially. So go back and read the story. But now that you have context around the story, I want to speak with you about the spiritual glow. Because like I said, this summer, I was reading different books of the Bible. And I'm sorry, peeps. I should have, there were several books that I wanted to go over with you. But for some reason, I just didn't. I guess everything happens in the right timing. So with this book, it was just so beautiful. But I want to touch bases on her spiritual glow. Because my point of reading this book was like, Lord, is there something wrong with beauty? God gives us beauty for a purpose. We are all beautiful. We are made beautiful, especially by the Holy Spirit. So we're going to have that spiritual glow. Now, in the book, in the context of the book, it never spoke about Esther being like, to me, in my opinion, a holy woman per se. But you can tell she was, because she was dignified, she was beautiful, and she was a person that knew how to maneuver. Basically, she was, to me, a delicate woman. She was a woman that should be a wife, like a Proverbs 31 woman. So because she was these things, this is my thought process towards her. She was put in a position where she could make use of that beauty. So how could she was put in this position where she could make use of that beauty? She could make use of that spiritual glow. She could make use of that physical beauty that she had. So all of these things brought me to the knowledge that nothing was wrong with beauty. It's just the context that people were putting beauty in, the way people were thinking about beauty. It's the spirit behind whatever you do. Some people say beauty is vanity, but if you look deep enough, you realize that everything is beautiful comes from the Most High. And that when you truly love the Lord, you will have a spiritual glow, which will put you in position to do the things of the Lord adequately according to his will. Esther just happened to be put in that spiritual position. Esther just happened to be put in that position because I believe it was the Lord's calling on her life. All of us have different callings, and we go through that preparation process. We're pregnant. We don't always know exactly what we're pregnant with. All of the beautiful gifts, all of the beautiful blessings, all the beautiful destiny that the Lord has for us. But as we go through the sanctification process, we realize more and more what our calling is, what our destiny is, what the Lord has called us to do. Therefore, he beautifies us. When we go through the preparation process, just like Esther did, she went through 12 months. We may be going through different times of preparation, maybe years. He's beautifying us and purifying us so that we can come home back to him as clean as possible, whole as possible. But on the way back home, we got to do our destiny. We got to do his will. But God has made all of his children beautiful. And when you are a person that believes in the Holy Spirit and you are led by the Holy Spirit, you have that spiritual glow about yourself. And I just wanted to touch bases because in my heart, I believe Esther had that. And that's why she was able to fulfill the will of the Lord. What have we learned today? Well, essentially, we've learned that there's nothing wrong with being beautiful. There's an inward beauty and there's an outward beauty. And when we use both of them, we will be able to use it to the glory of the Lord. Some people use their beauty for bad things, but that is not the will of God. If God gives you anything, he wants you to use it to his glory. I hope this message was a blessing to you, and I pray that you go back and read the book of Esther. And whenever you do read it, give me your opinion on Esther. Do you think she was beautiful? What do you think about her purpose? What do you think about how she maneuvered around the king? What do you think about how her relationship with her cousin Mordecai and how everything came together to be a blessing to the Jewish people? The people who believed in the Father that we believe in. I pray that this message was a blessing. Take care and have a beautiful, beautiful Friday. Shalom, family.